Hey, what's up guys? My name is Zen World and today we're going to be making an Oliver Heldens type lead in Serum. I'm going to be focusing on the lead from Oliver Heldens and Zeds new track, and it sounds like this. This is the melody. Dun 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 ooh ah. So I haven't created the sound yet, and creating Oliver Heldens type leads are kind of fairly simple. I feel like once you get the concept down, it's more about taking your time to look through the wavetables and choosing the right ones to create the sound you want. So today we're going to be looking at how to create a similar style from the track. I think that's what it's called. Okay, so in the first section, I kind of want to get a wavetable that has sort of like a sine element to it. So I'm going to be using just this simple, the 4088 and the acid wavetables just for the time of saving time. So this video is not like 40 minutes long and 30 of those minutes is me looking for a wavetable. So once we have it, go down here. First thing I want to do is, since the sound itself is a chord, and if you guys don't know what chords are, it's when you're playing two or more notes that are, harmonic to each other. But there are so many different ways to do chords. There's like dissonant chords, there's melancholy, I believe that's how you pronounce it, chords, and so forth. So the ones we're doing, I just like to call them deep house chords. So what we're going to do is put the semitone up to 7 plus 7. What that's going to do is whenever you play a key, it's going to play 7 semitones up. If you don't know what semitones up, this is the best way to kind of say it. It's one note up. So one, this is the first semitone, 1 semitone, 2 semitones, 3 semitones, 4 semitones, 5 semitones, 6 semitones, and 7 semitones. So you go like that. So what we're going to do is put the oscillator beat an octave high up. And what's going to happen is going to create a chord because we're playing two notes. If you think about it, we have semitone plus 7 and then octave up 1. So they're playing two different notes. Oscillator A and B aren't playing the same note, which is going to give us that nice kind of chord that resembles a track. See, if I had this at 0, it wouldn't really sound that catchy. It would be just very stale. So that's what gives it that nice sound. Now what I want to do is, obviously I can do so many things with it now. I'm going to put this at 60 unison, turn detunement down, blend down, maybe add a little bit of detunement with a little bit of blend. I'm going to put this one down an octave. Okay, that's a bit better. Let me put this one down an octave. Okay, and we're gonna add a sub. What the sub does is pretty much below the layers, and it's what gives the layer that A lot of the times people just layer the sub and then they put the leads, top layer, and so forth. So you can choose to add it or not. For this video, we're gonna add it to make a complete sound, and by that I mean you can just use the sound by itself, and it will sound good. So that's what we're trying to achieve here. So we're gonna go into our filter, put a low pass. So when we have resonance all the way down, cutoff all the way down to the point where almost nothing comes out. As you can see, we can barely hear it. Now what we're going to do is put an envelope on the cutoff of our filter, and what envelopes do is they activate every time you press a note, and then they activate again when you change a note. If you're sliding between notes, however, it's not going to change. The envelope's not going to activate. You have to let go of the key and then play the other one to activate the envelope again. So what we're going to do is take away sustain and decrease the decay so it's more punchy, and we're going to move this to the cutoff there like we already did, and we're going to move the cutoff down. So the blue line, the end of the blue one you see here, is going to decide to how far the filter is going to open up after the envelope activates. And I'm going to make a video specifically on envelopes, which is what I like to call ADSR, attack, decay, sustain, and release. And in that video I'll explain it more clearly, and you should look for that video this week if you don't understand the concept of it. So let's see. So we're going to put it down. So it sounds very nice and warm. What we're going to do is increase the drive and fat to make it louder, since this is going to be a one a one sound kind of thing, and by that I mean you're not going to layer with anything else. We want to make it as fat as possible, and what you do with fat is you're just pretty much adding like a low shelf or high shelf to it. And I think the right word to say is it's a high shelf. As you guys can see, we're boosting it up so it sounds louder. As you guys can see, that's too loud though. Alright, what I want to do now is see if the changing the wavetable works. So I'm adjusting a couple of stuff around. It sounds very, we're gonna lower the volume of the sub. Okay, cool. So we're gonna leave it like that. So creating those type of sounds, again, just keep in mind, choose your wavetable. You can alter your wavetable through different methods like wavetable positioning. You can also add bend plus FM and sync, which in essence alters the waveform that you see on the screen here, and you can alter it in many different ways by making it smaller and kind of making it bigger, changing the way it looks. And I'm using these terms because I don't want to use fancy lingo and just confuse you guys. But as you guys can see, bend kind of squishes it, so just think of it like that. Bend minus is obviously going to be the opposite of that, so it makes it wide, like it just spreads it out. Imagine two guys pulling on it. PWM kind of makes it like get squished towards the left, which in essence creates very kind of Dutchy type foundations that you can use. So that's a few of tips there. So finally, what I want to do is add effects, and this is where the magic happens. This is where the sound gets polished. So you guys can choose to distort it. If you're playing more than one note, I wouldn't recommend putting distortion. And by that I mean doing this. As you guys can see here, there's two things playing on at the same time. Main reason for that is because when you have something distorting, it builds up a lot of fuzziness in the high end. If you guys always, I'm sure many of you guys have distorted stuff, you get a lot of that white noise, like a shh sort of stuff happening, and that when you play more than one note, that tends to kind of add up. And also add the fact that your sound's bit rate is kind of going down with some type of distortion. So the less bit rate there is, the harder it is to play two notes at the same time that sound cleaner. So we're gonna add a little bit of distortion, not that much. Okay, and a little bit of chorus. Now let's see if we can get that distortion a little bit harder, but not too hard. There we go. So the key there, again, it's not to over distort it to get that nice distorted sound, but not overdo it. You can add delay if you choose to. I wouldn't add it for this sound, but if you do it in a way where like it's barely noticeable, you can use the Haas effect to make it sound wider. Now what we're gonna do here is add a dimensions. We're gonna reduce the hyper part, and we're gonna make the dimensions obviously bigger. So you want to, when I use dimensions, I tend to not layer the sub in the dimension whenever I use the dimensions effects, mainly because dimensions is making stuff wide. So imagine something getting wide, and in essence, in theory, you don't want your sub bass to be wide at all. That kind of makes no sense because it will really muddy up your mix. And what you want to do is create some stereo separation, and by that I mean you can tell where the bass is, like, oh, the bass is in the center, the leads are wide and whatnot. So you don't want to have the bass be wide because then it just doesn't make that much sense. A lot of the times people tell me the bass sounds wide, and I'm like, the top of the bass sounds wide, not the sub. The sub is rarely made wide or widened, so just keep that in mind. Now we're gonna apply some EQ. So I'm gonna take the dimension thing off because I have a sub in this sound. Okay, we're we go. A little bit of reverb. Go EQ, boost a little bit of the highs, reduce a little bit of the lows. Alright, so I'm still playing with the distortion a bit, but from there on, the sound is pretty much done. Then you would kind of do post-processing. Now, let's say you wanted to get the top end of the bass wide. What I recommend using is Ozone 5, since I think everyone almost has it to do their mastering. And I would use the imager because it's a multi-band imager, and every time you hear multi-band, just think, oh, I can manipulate the compression in a certain frequency, or whenever you hear multi-band, say I can alter a certain frequency. I don't alter the whole thing, so that's a good thing about it. So what I would do is make the bandwidth 1 be all the way down, which is your sub area, and you can kind of choose there, and then I would make the rest kind of wide. Now, if you guys see, if I put this at the center here, and this is what we don't want. We don't want the low end of it to go all over the place. So what we do is we put it all the way down. In essence, what that does, it turns it fully mono, and you're just going to see a line. And there we have it. So now we'll check the other side, and this one right here. I'm going to decrease it a bit, and we should be done. So there you go. Those are a couple of the ways I would do it. Again, it's always best to kind of separate your sub from your bass and then layer it with your bass. So you use another Serum and make the sub on that, so you can kind of process them separately, because sometimes when you process the top end of the bass, you don't want to distort the sub end of it as well. So when you separate them, it allows you to do that more cleanly. All right, guys, so hopefully you guys enjoyed this tutorial. I think it was like a bit long. It was 13 minutes. And hit like, comment, subscribe to the Evolution of Sound channel, which this video is on. And hopefully you guys can make your own leads, and I'll see you guys next time.